Greetings and welcome back everybody to Eureka Farms here in Farming Simulator 19 with me, CWATTY, who is slightly out of breath and breathless today. Don't know why. But anyway, we're over here at the animal pen where the plumber's turned up for work. He's putting the pipes in place for the animal pen extension mod, which means we should get water to the chickens very soon and we should get them back producing. Right, for me today, we finished off, I did finish off the canola harvest and the baling as I mentioned in the previous video. One full trailer of canola bales actually fetched me 57,000 bucks, which was quite nice. I did put a lot of bales into the silo though for storage, as I said I was going to do, just for a bit of a rainy day fund. But what we need to do now, of course, is we need to get all the grass collected from field 7 after we mowed that field. So got to head over to the store and need to buy a loading wagon. Now again, because I'm recording this audio in post today because of a slight technical itch of my own making, I apologise in advance if this commentary is not quite as great as the original one was, but I can't repeat the audio. I've tried in Sony Vegas to sit there, listen to the original audio track whilst recording the new audio, and it's really off-putting listening to the echoey audio, and also it's really difficult for me to try and repeat word for word what I'm hearing without it just sounding like I'm just reading off a teleprompter all the time, and it is very difficult for me to maintain a kind of exciting dialogue tone. So yeah, I'm just going to try and wing it today. Don't worry folks, the videos will be fixed for the next one. The recording software, I know what I did wrong. It's because I'm using I have my normal microphone obviously plugged into my PC, my Yeti. That then goes into a mixing software called Voice Meter, which does all the sound processing stuff. And a lot of the effects stuff, compressors, noise reduction, sound reduction, pop and hiss remover and all that kind of stuff. And then that outputs onto a virtual audio cable, which can then be picked up by any application. So like OBS picks up, doesn't record from the Yeti, but records from the virtual audio cable with the nicely cleaned up sound and everything. I then have a new program called Voice Mod, and some people may be aware of this program. It's basically a program that lets you apply fancy sound effects to your voice in real time by pressing various different buttons and keybinds and things like that. And when I set that program up, it receives it reads the input from the virtual audio cable, because I didn't want it capturing the raw audio from the microphone, so it also receives the audio from the virtual cable. It then applies its sound effects and then puts the audio back out onto its own channel. Because of that, the way it records, there is that tiny little bit of a delay in the audio between the original microphone audio and then the voice mod audio, so it's a little bit staggered, which is why it sounds a bit echoey when you're listening to both channels at the same time. And obviously what I would normally do if I was recording a video and I was using the sound effects and stuff, is that when I got to a part of the video where I wanted the sound effect audio, I would cut out the normal microphone audio. I've done it in the past, I did it when I did my Train Sim World videos last year. I did a couple of videos on Train Sim World, and I did like the passenger announcements on the train. That's how I did those. Literally, when I got to the part of the video in Sony Vegas where I wanted the passenger announcement, I cut the normal microphone audio and removed it and just left the tannoy announcement. And then for the rest of the video where I didn't want the tannoy announcement, I cut and removed that audio channel. And that works quite well. The problem I created for myself yesterday when I was recording was the fact I was using these new overlays in OBS that I'd made, and I had put on in OBS you have there's a little in the advanced audio properties section, it lists all the audio generating things within a scene or within a scene collection. So you'll have desktop audio, you'll have headphones, you'll have your microphone, you'll have your Discord, you'll have your Spotify, any media elements in the video, any like video clips, music files you've got within the scene, they'll all be listed there with their own volume controls and everything. And then next to that you've got obviously basically 6 little checkboxes labelled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the audio channels that you can record or stream with the OBS. So for example, track 1 is pretty much live stream Twitch audio. Everything gets outputted to track 1. So every single audio device in that scene has a tick box in the track 1 in the track 1 column, because I want all the audio to be included in the Twitch live stream. Then go to the opposite end of the spectrum, you have track 6, which is the new Twitch VOD stream channel, which is all the audio that Twitch will then put into the VOD of a live stream. So this is really great for cutting out all your copyright music and stuff like that, by basically making sure that in track 6 you don't have any checkboxes enabled for audio you don't want appearing in the VOD. So things like Spotify, for example, won't have a track 6 checkbox, so it doesn't get captured and doesn't get saved into the VOD. Hope you're following along. Now for my local recordings and stuff, I tend to have it so that when I'm doing like my farm sim videos and all my YouTube recordings, track 2 is desktop audio, track 3 is microphone audio, track 4 is Discord audio, and those are generally the only 3 audio tracks I have enabled on local recordings. So when I do a local recording, it's going to record audio from tracks 2, 3 and 4, and including the video. However, with the way this voice mod program works and outputs, what you need to do to get it to work, to get it to really work flawlessly in streams, you need to put the voice mod audio onto track 3. So you've got microphone audio on track 3, voice mod audio on track 3, and then generally speaking, when you are live streaming, or when I'm live streaming and stuff, I should have the microphone audio muted, because the voice mod program is already receiving the and outputting the microphone audio. So that's perfectly fine. I'm already getting the microphone audio recorded, but as soon as I hit one of the little buttons on my Stream Deck, it applies the voice effect to that audio. So it's like it seamlessly changes then as I press the button to one of the pre-programmed voice effects, or I've got the little sensor button that I press, which then puts a beep over the microphone audio to basically censor any cursing, swearing, things like that, to keep the the videos and the audio PG for my channels, you know, because obviously sometimes when you're playing multiplayer, you do get a little bit, you can get a little bit riled up by your fellow players, and you can get a, you know, it's just natural. In the heat of the moment, you can say things, so having the beat button there is quite nice. So yes, so that's the thing. When I'm recording now, doing my local recordings, I need to make sure if I am going to be using any of the sound effects stuff that I just have the voice mod sound source active, enabled, and I mute the normal microphone, or vice versa. If I just want the normal microphone and I'm not going to be using any voice mod stuff, mute the voice mod channel and just leave the microphone enabled. And that's where I kind of went a bit wrong yesterday, because I had them both enabled at the same time. And the reason for that is, if anyone's ever used OBS and you've ever had set up scenes, scene profiles, for different overlays, they all retain their own audio settings. So for example, one overlay I was using and recording and streaming from last, obviously when I got to the end of the stream, I do the usual turn off the speaker audio, turn off the microphone audio, etc, 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 and just leave the actual audio for the ending scene playing. And then of course, because I actually switched back to a different scene to record these videos, I use what is my green space overlay scene for recording these YouTube videos, which just has my little CWATTYESO Gaming for Fun logo at the top and nothing else on the screen. There's no other bump on the screen. It's just very neat logo at the top center of the screen, which is a little bit transparent so you can actually see through it. But of course, when I switch back to that scene, it has its own audio, so it enabled and disabled different, and that's where I ran into. I didn't check. It's my own stupid fault. I should check before I record anything, that everything is set up properly. It only takes a few seconds, but you know, when you're struggling for time and you're trying to get videos recorded, because ultimately you need to get them uploaded, because people can't watch what isn't uploaded, sometimes I forget to check things. But I need to do that now, because obviously with all the different overlays and stuff that I'm going to be using for my live streaming stuff, it's just going to get more complicated to keep live streaming and local recording separate. I even thought about using a separate program. I actually downloaded and installed the Streamlabs version of OBS, their own branded version of it, and I was going to use that maybe for local recording instead of OBS, just so I've got no how should I put it, no overlap, no discrepancies or whatever in the recording. You know, when I open up Streamlabs OBS, all the settings will be preserved for when I local record, and they'll never change. If I don't actually change them, they'll stay the way they're set up forever. Whereas in OBS, settings will change as I'm switching between different overlays. And it can be just as something simple like yesterday. I live streamed a completely different game yesterday on my Twitch channel, which if you're not a follower of or a subscriber of, head over to twitch.tv/CWATTYESO and go give the channel a follow and a subscribe. You know, it will be most appreciated. But I was playing a game called Sim Airport yesterday, which I know, it's a very old game. It's been out for a lot of years, but I hadn't actually played it. I've owned it for a long time, but I've never played it. So I thought, I'm going to give it a go, because I like these kind of tycoon building type games, as anyone knows, you know, Software Inc., Project Hospital, those types of games. Sim Airport seems like a good fit. We'll give it a play. And of course, I started live streaming that yesterday, and within a few minutes of streaming it, the first thing that people in the chat said was, can you move the chat window on the screen because it's hiding the build menu? You can't see what objects you're clicking on and stuff in the menu, because the chat's covering it, and also because the build menu is underneath the chat, it makes it hard to read the chat on the screen as well. And I was like, don't really want to move the chat window because the chat window's positioned for that overlay. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll just press a button, switch to my other overlay that I'd used a couple of days before with Farm Sim for when I was playing Hofbergman in the multiplayer server and was doing the multiplayer streaming. And I did that, switched the scene. That all worked flawlessly. A few seconds later, everyone in the chat was like, there's no audio, we can't hear you. And I was like, there we go, there's the problem. I switched the scenes, but the audio settings weren't retained from the previous scene, the previous overlay. They were then changed to the new one, which had everything turned off and disabled, because that's how I'd ended the Hofbergman live stream a few days before, when I did me thank you everybody for watching, I'll see you all again very soon, goodbye for now thing, and then hit the ending scene for the overlay, which has the stream ending soon or ending now, and then it just has some music playing, which I leave running for a minute or two, and then before hitting the stop streaming button to stop the stream completely. But on that scene, it has all the desktop audio, mic audio, Discord audio, Spotify audio, etc, etc, turned off and disabled. And of course, that's the first settings that loaded up when I switched the scenes. But hopefully we get that all fixed now, and this is a kind of a bit of a weird look into my content creating stuff. I know I haven't really been talking about much of what's happening on screen, but I think everyone can clearly see what's happening on screen at the minute, which is me just picking up lots and lots of rows of grass. And I'm kind of alternating between delivering a trailer of grass to the BGA and also putting a trailer of grass in my newly purchased and placed grass dryer, which I did off camera. I apologise for buying and placing that off camera, but I thought I'd put it in a good spot on the farm where it's at, on that lovely little angled bit of land. Makes it a bit easy when driving into the farm or out of the farm to be able to just unload or collect. Also, it's a good grass dryer. I thoroughly recommend people use it if you have the Global Company stuff enabled and Global Company mod and you use Global Company, because the grass dryer is very useful for making hay. It saves you having to mess with tedding, and as we've seen quite recently, and as I mentioned in my last video, there's a lot of maps coming out at the minute where the map authors keep messing with the hay making process on the maps and forcing players to do multiple passes with a tedder to get hay, or they build in various different elements of other mods within the map, so even though you're not using those standalone specific mods, you're still actually getting features and effects from them because the map authors have like hard coded it into their map. So then you have all sorts of issues, and like I say, one of the reasons I don't play with seasons is because I didn't like how difficult it was to produce hay and how inconsistent it was at producing hay, and that I would try to do everything that the developers said, which was ted the grass, mow the grass, leave it on the field for a day, then ted the grass, leave it on the field for a day, and then it should be hay, and you should be able to then collect it and have lots of fun. Never ever worked for me. I could leave grass on a field for 6-7 days, and it would never ever change to hay, and eventually it would just rot and disappear and I would lose the harvest. So it was at that point I switched to using hay dryer mods to dry the grass and produce hay. Then I wasn't dependent on seasons or whatever else was going on in the background, and it enabled me to get what I needed to satisfy the needs of my animals. So I've always used hay dryers since, and I'm probably always going to use hay dryers going forward now with what I'm seeing, because it's just again, there are people that play this game obviously a lot differently to me, and I respect everybody for playing the game how they want to play it. The same way that, you know, I don't necessarily appreciate people reacting negatively to how I play the game because it's not how they play it. You know, at the end of the day, I'm playing the game from the perspective of it needs to be fun and entertaining. You know, there's no point in me making videos if they're not fun and entertaining. So there's no point me making a video where I'm getting really frustrated and flustered because the map or a mod is trolling me ridiculous. Like, for example, the example I used in the last video was Chellington Valley, when we did a hay baling contract on that map, and poor old Mr. Helgi had to ted a field 5 times before the grass changed to hay. The mowed grass changed to hay. He had to go around that field 5 separate times. That's, you know, 5 times longer than necessary to do a job. That's increasing the time it takes to do something in the game by 5 times. And we just don't have time for that these days, people. I don't have the time for that. I don't want to be playing this game and putting in, 30 hours off camera to be able to record a video. You know, if I'm recording this video today, I don't then want to have to go and spend 30 hours playing to progress to the point where I can then record the next one. It just breaks my production flow for video making. So yeah, there are certain mods that I won't use because of the changes they make to how things are done in game. And I know it's caused a bit of controversy recently. Again, modding, the farm sim community tends to get a little bit riled up, seems at this moment in time to be, and I've said this in a previous video as well, that, you know, I would appreciate it if the farming simulator community could just chill out. If people could just relax, you know, stop being in such a rush to want to grab your pitchforks and your torches and go on the warpath and attack somebody and be hurtful to somebody, be aggressive to someone, to be rude and offensive to someone just because they have a different opinion and have a different way of doing things, you know. And I've seen it again just recently, just this weekend. I saw somebody do a review of a map, did a map review video on a map that released last week, and the person who did the map review didn't like, and several times in the video commented and pointed out that the map was basically forcing a mod upon you because it was built into the map. You couldn't turn it off, you couldn't disable it. Even if you didn't have the mod downloaded and installed, you were still being forced and subjected to it because it was built into the map. And that's kind of, you know, and he had issue with that. And a lot of people have jumped on him and, like I say, been very rude and aggressive about the matter. He then later on released a poll asking, just a general poll to the community, asking, you know, what people's opinions are, you know, on whether, you know, mod makers and map makers should force mods upon you and not give you the option to play without them or to disable them. And And I saw somebody in Stevie's farm sim group. They put a post up about it. Where was it? A guy called Leo Brown. He put a post up there that said, I don't know if this has been mentioned on here, but YouTuber is not a fan of maps with Maze Plus included. Because of the backlash his one-sided reviews have caused, he has created a poll. If you like maps with Maze Plus, please head over to his YouTube page he has created and tick the box on the poll. Thank you, anyone willing to vote. So this guy is, this Leo Brown guy is wanting everybody to rally up, go to this YouTube channel, go to this creators poll and tick the box that says we want Maze Plus maps, you know. And that's like, well, yeah, that's his preference, his personal preferences. He wants maps with Maze Plus built in, hard coded in, so you have no option of turning them off and disabling it. And the great thing about this guy is he's posted this on Stevie's Facebook page thing, and then he's immediately locked the post, so you can't put any additional comments on it. You can't reply to it. It's like, this is the way it has to be, and I'm not prepared to have a discussion about it. And that is so wrong. Because again, the issue is not the map has support for Maze Plus. Don't get me wrong, there is no issue at all, right? There's no issue with a map having support for Maze Plus, or a map having support for seasons, or a map having support for manure system mod, or a map having support for placeable factories, or anything like that. Okay, that is perfectly fine, and that's what we want. We want map authors to give players the options of being able to use these additional mods by including support for them in their maps. But that support needs to be at a level where, if you are not playing with those mods, you don't see that stuff. You know, if I download a map and I don't have the Seasons mod installed in my mod folder, I don't expect to see Seasons stuff when I'm playing the map. I expect to see vanilla farm sim. And it's the same with Maze Plus. If I don't have the Maze Plus mod downloaded and installed, because I don't want to deal with all that complexity and nonsense that it does, I should just be able to play the game how I want. When I go to my animal pens and I go to my cows, I should see that my cows just require grass, hay and TMR. And if I choose to give my cows TMR, they have 100% productivity. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward. What I don't expect to see when I open a map is that my cows require 50 different bloody things, and if I don't provide all 50 bloody things, they won't be productive. And I'm sat there scratching my head going, well, hang on a minute, I haven't installed this mod, I haven't installed Maze Plus, I don't have that in my mod folder. Why am I seeing it in game? Why am I being forced on this map to use it? And that's the difference. That's the difference, and that's why I hope people understand where the other YouTuber is coming from in his statement. People are misunderstanding him a bit. He's not saying you should remove the mod, and you shouldn't. Map makers shouldn't create maps with support for other mods. He's not saying that at all. What he's saying is you should not be making maps which force players into one way of playing. You know, by all means include support for the different mods, but make sure if players want to use that mod, they still have to download that mod separately and install it and activate it. When you're hard coding and hard forcing mods on people, that's when it gets a little bit, you know, beyond the scheme of what the maps and mods should do. So it goes a little bit back to the controversy, you know, a year or so ago when Global Company came out, and Global Company did that thing where if you had the Place Anywhere mod installed and enabled, it gave you that big pop-up warning message telling you, oh, you shouldn't use this mod, you should disable it and remove it, it will break your game, blah blah blah. Because of course Global Company had hard-coded and built their own kind of version of Place Anywhere into Global Company, and they wanted you to use that. They didn't want you using the standalone mod produced by somebody else, which at the time was better than what Global Company offered. And it's a bit like when they added Horse Helper into Global Company, which was like, for a lot of people like, why is that mod in Global Company? It has nothing to do with production chains, it has nothing to do with factories, factory mods. Why are they including a completely separate standalone mod in their own mod, and then telling everybody with really intrusive pop-up messages in-game to remove the standalone mod that somebody else made? It's kind of, again, a lot of people weren't very impressed with that, because they felt that was a modding team or a modding group basically telling people what mods they can and can't use, and taking away a player's choice. And that's not really fair, you know. It's also not really fair on the people who made the original mods, that, again, a modding team or group is basically trying to say, don't download their mods, download ours. You know, don't use their mods. You know, we don't want them getting any support. We don't want them getting any downloads. We don't want them getting any payout from Giants. We want to cut off their revenue stream, and we just want to make all the money. You know. So we're going to shoehorn in as many different functions and features into our mod that don't have any real connection to what our mod is supposed to do and achieve, because, you know, we just want to be the de facto #1 download that, like I say, makes us lots of money from Giants paying us, because everybody then downloads our product because it contains these other 50 mods all in one easy package. But yes, that's kind of my little rant today on the subject. Like I say, I don't agree with like I say, having gameplay forced upon players, you know. And it's like whenever I've seen the you know, whenever we have this same discussion all the time in Farm Sim, when Seasons releases, everybody, well, not everybody, but there is a portion of the Farm Sim community that always responds and replies with, why is this not in the base game? Why does Giants not put Seasons in the base game as, you know, default? You know, why does it have to be a mod? And for the simple reason, and the simple answer to that is, not everybody wants to play with Seasons. Not everybody likes to play with Seasons. If you made it a default feature of the game, you would put off people from playing the game. There are people that wouldn't play the game. You know? That's simple. If you take away a person's option to be able to play the game just in the chilled out, relaxed way that they enjoy playing the game, you end up removing that player from the community, and ultimately you end up removing that player from buying the game and buying future versions of the game, which of course would hit Giants financially very hard. So yes, for people who always ask, why isn't Seasons a default option? Why isn't it always enabled in the vanilla game? Well, that's your answer. It would be quite quite diversive. It would be quite, you know, it would create a division within the Farm Sim community. The players that don't like to play with Seasons, and just want to play the game in its current form, where it is what it is. I know some people say, well, it's not very realistic. Your game's called Farming Simulator, but you're not simulating realism 100% accurately. You're not simulating real life 100% accurately. And again, it's where you draw the line on that. Yes, you could make the most ultra hardcore realistic farming simulator game ever, but how many people would then play it? How many people, like the casual gamer who just wants to load the game up after they've had a hard day at work and just want to chill out for a couple of hours with their feet up on the desk, controller in their hand? How many of those players would get turned off and be put off if the game was super hardcore realistic simulation? You know, at the end of the day, it's a video game. It's here to be fun and entertaining. You know, yes, you can use mods, and there are mods that enable you to make it more realistic, more hardcore, more of a grind, more of a time sink, and that's perfectly okay. For those players that want to do that, go right ahead. You have fun. You enjoy playing the game that way. Go ahead and do so. Just stop dictating how everyone else should play the game. You know, by saying that this mod or this mod should be, you know, X mod should be permanently in the game. It should be in the game by default and you shouldn't have an option about it. No, that's not really fair. You know? But yeah, this video's gone by quite quickly, I've noticed. I'm nearly at the end of it now. I've been driving backwards and forwards with the grass for quite a while now, alternating between the hairdryer and the BGA. The hairdryer, I think, has about a 500,000 litre capacity for material waiting to be dried. And then I think it has a storage capacity on the other side of, I think it's 5,000 litres, it might be more. I don't know whether the output capacity is higher on these machines, so you can always have more hay stored, but not as much grass waiting to be processed. Also, one thing I've noticed is the BGA is working brilliantly on this map. It seems to have a very good capacity because I'm able to empty my trailer into it. I don't hit 50,000 litres and then get stopped like on a lot of maps which seem to use vanilla settings, which limit you to the BGA to only having like a 50,000 litre capacity, which means you can't empty your entire trailers into it. And also I noticed the BGA on this map has the actual processing rate of the BGA is a lot higher than the default vanilla BGA, which means when you tip your trailer into it, it consumes and uses that material way faster. Again, a lot of maps, you'll notice if they have the default BGA capacity of 50,000 litres, they probably have the default processing speed as well, which is, I think, is about 10 litres per second. So if you put 50,000 litres into your 50,000 litres into your BGA, right? You've got 50,000 litres into your BGA, and you are only consuming 10 litres a second, right? It's going to take you an hour and 23 minutes. It's going to take an hour and 23 minutes real time for that BGA to process that 50,000 litres and enable you to tip some more stuff into it. Are you going to sit in game with your trailer and just sit there for an hour and 23 minutes waiting to be able to finish unloading your trailer? No. So yes, the Eureka Farms map update that came out a couple of weeks ago did address and fix that issue with the BGA, which is nice. And like I say, I love that on most maps tend to tweak that a bit. There are a few maps where the map makers still insist on giving you the Giants BGA, which is very slow at processing and stuff. But anyway, folks, I'm going to continue getting this grass picked up and collected. We've reached the end of today's episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. leave your like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments down below, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye from me, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe.